within, they hold me tight. In the dark, I lose my fight.
Chapter 6. The Quiet Gift. Elizabeth moved through the hospital halls like sunlight, soft, warm, and full of quiet purpose. Everyone knew her by name, not just because she'd worked there for nearly 10 years, but because she made people feel seen. Nurses are trained to care, but Elizabeth was born to love. She wasn't the loudest in the room. She wasn't the most decorated or the most ambitious, but she was the one who remembered her patients' grandchildren's names, the one who snuck in that extra cup of ginger ale or hunted down the blue-striped hospital socks because she knew Mrs. Jameson refused to wear anything else. She made time when the world seemed to run on borrowed minutes, and her presence had a way of calming the most anxious hands, softening the hardest scowls. Even the grumpiest patients seemed to unravel under her touch. But one of them, one man, stayed etched in her heart more deeply than the rest. His name was Walter, 87, tall in his youth, though now his spine curved like a question mark. His skin was thin, papery, liver-spotted, and his hands trembled from time and illness, but they still curled instinctively, like they were cradling the ghost of a saxophone. He had cancer. Not the kind that screamed with machines and emergencies, but the kind that whispered, quietly stealing inches, days, and light. Walter had no family, no children. His wife had passed 3 winters earlier, and with her, it seemed, went the last thread tying him to the world. He didn't talk to many, he didn't want to. But something in Elizabeth reached him. Maybe it was the way she sat when he spoke, never rushed, always still. Maybe it was how she'd tilt her head and actually listen when he said something quiet like, "I played in Smoky Club, the real jazz," or, "Sometimes I still hear her voice when I close my eyes." He'd never been famous, never had a record deal or a name in liner notes, just a saxophone, a love for jazz, and decades spent playing small gigs in churches, dives, and the occasional wedding. His stories didn't sparkle with fame, but they shimmered with soul, heartache, and the kind of truth only late-night jazz and long roads can teach. Elizabeth began spending extra minutes with him every shift, just 5 here, 10 there. She'd wheel in her Bluetooth speaker and play Miles Davis, Chet Baker, Nina Simone. Sometimes Walter would hum along in a low, gravelly tune. Sometimes he would cry, silently, and Elizabeth wouldn't say a word. She'd just hold his hand, her thumb brushing over the loose skin like a lullaby. One night, as the sky outside the window turned indigo and Walter's breath grew shallow, he turned his head toward her and said, "Play me out, Lizzie." She froze. He'd never called her that before. "It's what she called me," he added, barely above a whisper. "My Mel. Always said it with a smile." Elizabeth swallowed the lump in her throat and pulled up, almost blue. The saxophone's lonely, haunting cry filled the room. She took his hand and stayed. No more charts, no more nurse duties. Just 2 souls, one fading, one holding on. He passed 5 minutes later, a faint smile on his lips. She stayed long after, just her, the music, and the memory of a man whose name might not appear in history books, but who left a legacy of notes and love and quiet dignity. The morning light poured in through the kitchen windows, golden and soft. Elizabeth stood barefoot in one of Evan's oversized T-shirts, humming quietly as she waited for the coffee to finish brewing. The dogs were still half asleep, curled in their favorite sunlit spots. Bruno sprawled near the fridge, Daisy tucked in a tight little ball on a kitchen chair she wasn't supposed to be on. Evan was in the shower, his off-day morning routine running slow and sleepy. She could hear him singing faintly, some silly song he'd made up for his kindergarten class about frogs and peanut butter. Elizabeth smiled to herself. Today was the day. She didn't plan on it being over breakfast, not exactly, but something about the quiet house, the warm morning, and the peace in her chest made it feel right. She wasn't nervous anymore. She was ready. They were ready. A few minutes later, Evan walked in, his hair damp and curling at the ends, face still lit with a sleepy grin. He was wearing plaid pajama pants and a hoodie that said, "Teaching is a work of heart." One of his students had given it to him last Christmas, and he wore it with such pride. "Something smells amazing," he said, rubbing his eyes. "Is that your fancy toast?" Elizabeth set down a plate in front of him, 2 slices of sourdough, perfectly golden, one topped with avocado and feta, the other with strawberry jam and a dusting of powdered sugar. "Fancy toast it is?" she said. Her voice was light, but her hands trembled just a little. He leaned over and kissed the side of her head. "You're spoiling me." She sat across from him and wrapped her hands around her mug. "There's something I want to tell you." He looked up instantly. Concern flickered in his eyes. She smiled softly. "It's not bad, I promise." He nodded and waited, quiet, eyes focused completely on her. Elizabeth took a breath. "I'm pregnant." The words were so small, but they felt like fireworks going off between them. Evan blinked. His mouth fell open slightly, and for a beat, he just sat there, frozen, processing. Then, suddenly, his face broke into the biggest, most radiant smile she'd ever seen. He pushed his chair back and rushed to her side of the table, pulling her into the tightest hug. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her hands. "Are you serious?" he whispered. His voice cracked. "You're really—" She nodded against his chest, tears filling her eyes now, too. "I'm really—" He held her tighter. "Oh, my God. Oh, Liz. I didn't even know how much I wanted this until right now." She laughed into his shirt. "That's such a kindergarten teacher thing to say." He pulled back, wiping his eyes. "I mean it. I love you so much. I love us. And now we get to love more." She could barely speak. Her heart felt like it was glowing. They sat together on the floor for a while, arms wrapped around each other, the dogs nosing their way between them like something important had happened, but they didn't quite know what. Elizabeth always knew Evan would be a good father. She'd seen it long before they ever talked about having kids. The way he lit up when his students ran to him in the mornings. The gentle patience he had for their questions, their meltdowns, their sticky fingers and loud stories. He never rushed them. He knelt to their level, made them feel heard. Once, she'd watched him spend an entire Saturday afternoon building a cardboard pirate ship for a class project. He painted it, added little windows, even rigged a sail out of a dish towel. He didn't do it because he had to. He did it because he wanted to. Evan made people feel safe. He made her feel safe. He was her rock, the kind of person who didn't flinch when things got hard, who always looked for the light, even in the dark. He didn't try to fix her pain, just held space for it. Loved her through it. Elizabeth sometimes wondered how she'd gotten so lucky. Being around him made her better. He grounded her, helped her grow. He didn't need her to be perfect, just honest, just present, just herself. And now, they were building something together, a family. Later that evening, Evan pulled her close again while they sat on the couch with the dogs tucked between them. "I've already got 100 ideas for nursery themes," he said, grinning. "Hear me out. Jungle animals, but with googly eyes. Every animal gets one, even the snake." Elizabeth burst out laughing. "Our child is going to have nightmares." "Nah, they'll be raised with humor and fancy toast." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You're going to be amazing." He kissed the top of her head. "We both are." As the dogs snored and the house quieted around them, Elizabeth traced small circles on Evan's hand. Somewhere, she imagined, Walter's saxophone still played in another room of the universe. A lullaby, maybe, for her, for the life growing quietly inside her, for all the souls who loved and lingered. And in that moment, She felt something she hadn't in a long time. Peace. No fear, no second guessing, no doubt. Just love. Just light. Just them.
Used to run from the morning light, but now I lean into the fight. With you it's easy, with you I stay, even when the sky turns gray. You don't need words, you just know the beat. You dance with the chaos under my feet. I found my fire in your gentle soul. You're the wild peace that makes me whole. You're my steady flame in the pouring rain, my reason when the world goes strange. You lift me up with your quiet hands. I finally feel like I understand what love can be, not loud, not tame. Our fears stand true like a steady flame, and I'll carry this life inside, with your name burning by my side. Every breath a vow, every step a song. With you is where I belong, all along. You're my steady flame in the pouring rain, my reason when the world goes strange. You lift me up with your quiet